All right, everybody. It is the inaugural episode of the Garden Party podcast, where we're going to have different gardening content creators come in and talk about what's going on in their area every week. So I want to start out with my buddy Fig Daddy. Is it Phil? Big Daddy Phil? Fig Daddy Phil?
Big Daddy, I
Uh,
like that as a dad.
he just had a kid this week.
Yeah,
This week.
baby.
Yeah.
Well, 2 weeks. Baby girl. She's our third, and now I'm playing zone defense. So it's for
Is
our
it
best.
is it all girls?
I have a boy. My middle child's a boy.
Oh, okay. I was say I hope you're not the only one. Like that
Yeah,
sounds terrible.
I got a variety. Fun.
That
would say
transition from 2 to
congratulations.
3. No joke.
Yeah, that was the hardest one for us. I'll say congrats, but also you're in for it. Just know that if you decide to go from 3 to 4, it's so much easier. So this is as tough
think
as
we
it gets.
called it. We called it in the hospital. You go 2 to 3. That's good. We got our minivan. Let's do it.
No. You just got over the hump. Like now is when you need to have more kids so that you can take advantage of the kids that you have. That they do all the work.
Because then I can outsource it. Yes.
Exactly. You've made it to the end. It's like the runner's high when you get past it hurting. It's like now is when you really run.
I think he's still hurting right now.
I'm still hurt. We're
Yeah,
still
it's
like
going
having,
that big.
you remember that
Yeah.
whole cluster feeding thing? That's all back again. Yeah.
Yeah.
They only wake up at night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think nowadays people are just having babies for the paternity leave. At my work, if you have a baby, you get like 16 weeks off paid vacation.
Wow.
That's awesome. I get a
And I
month
was like,
through my work here, but
that's
I think
great.
I got like 16 hours.
Yeah. Well, and we'll move to Michael with Smith's Garden Town. And I assumed your last name was going to be Michael Smith. I don't know why, because you're Smith's Garden Town. I just assumed it was going to be Michael Smith. But we got Michael up in Wichita Falls joining us.
Yeah, a lot of people think that I'm Smith because I am a Smith, but it's my mom's side of the family. So yeah,
That makes sense.
I'm in the Smith family, but my last name is Fiore, and continuing on the Smith legacy as a Fiore.
Is that like is that Italian or is that Spanish? Because I know you speak fluent Spanish too, right?
You cut out on me for a
Oh,
second there.
is that Italian? Like Fieri? Like is that or because I know you speak fluent
Fiore.
Spanish too, right?
Yeah, so Fiore is Italian. I do speak fluent Spanish. I speak very little Italian, but I do know that Fiore is Italian for flower, which is very appropriate for my line of work.
That's amazing. Well, if you ever get, you start running out of free time, I know you got so much free time running your own business.
Mhm.
You could do Fiore's Flower Shop, to go
Yeah.
along with the Smith's Garden Town. That would be nice.
A lot of nurseries do have a floral department, so maybe we will one day.
Yeah. I'm an idea man. I got Cog Hill to start a kids YouTube channel from our podcast, and he's already got
Wow.
15,000 views. He's already got 15,000 subscribers, and that was an idea
Wow.
from the podcast. Yeah. Oh, it's
So do you
good
get
too.
kickbacks, royalties? Do you get anything off of that?
He sends me free coffee.
Okay. All right.
That's something.
And I just got a package of pumpkin spice Cog Hill coffee this morning, so
Nice.
about to get my my inner white girl on with that pumpkin spice lot. And to the right, all the way from the Husker State, we got Noah from Shallow Farms coming to us from the log cabin.
That's right. I try to pretend like I'm not in Nebraska, so I made this log cabin in my office so that I feel like I'm in Montana or somewhere not surrounded by corn.
I have actually spent some time in the Midwest. I was mostly in Iowa, which I know y'all hate Iowa.
Sorry about that. Sorry about
but
that.
but I liked it. I liked it. I really liked it. It was it's nice. It's flat, so it's kind of like where I'm at, but it actually has a couple seasons. So yeah. But I know y'all hate Iowa.
You know what's funny is all the
pretty much the
Midwest
same
states.
state.
Yeah, all the Midwest states hate on each other, but I just drove through the entire Midwest and they're all the same. Like all of them.
Pretty much.
You're not
It's
selling
like-
them on that. Yeah.
It's like Rocky Mountains, Mississippi River, and then corn.
Yes, absolutely.
No, but I just assumed you lived in a log cabin, or I know you have a teepee too that you sleep in there during the winter. Have you actually slept in that teepee?
Oh yeah, we sleep in there a lot. I don't. In the wintertime, it definitely is a little bit tough. You need to have your buffalo coat on for sure. But usually, like in the fall and springtime, we get the kids out there and we do sleepovers in the teepee all the time.
I've always found it interesting when people put fireplaces in their chimneys. I was like, how do they not melt? How do they just
Yeah,
not burn to the ground? But that's what TikTok's for. I found out how that works. So,
yeah.
BMO, are you with us? I see your
I
block,
think
but I
so.
don't see your face. I
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. I can hear you, Brian. Oh, you're good, buddy. So we
Yeah,
got my buddy Gart. Go ahead,
I'm
buddy.
trying to get I'm just trying to get my video to work.
Oh, you're good. Well, hey, man, your voice is smooth and calming. So even if we just have audio, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
It's like velvet, you know.
Oh man. What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Yeah,
How you doing, dude?
we were just going through some intros, so he popped in right in time. I don't know where Jorge's at. Jorge has been so busy. We've been posting videos about like fall is for planning, and then people like believe us, and so they like want trees installed. He's been like installing like 2 orchards a week here lately. It's got to be crazy owning a nursery that also does installs. Do y'all do installs too, Michael? Do y'all
We
do?
do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we don't do. We used to do full service landscape design and all that, but now all we do is outside of the walls. The only thing we do is tree planting. So
Okay, that's awesome. What are I know a lot of people are like, especially here in the Houston area, they're kind of getting they're getting upset because they're losing their citrus and stuff every year. We finally told people like, hey, put them in pots. I know y'all don't have to deal with that because y'all are used to losing your citrus if you leave them outside in the winter. But like, well, right now, what is like the most common tree that y'all are installing that is like cold tolerant?
we do a lot of shade trees. We do a lot of fruit trees. So for us, our most popular fruit trees are going to be the peaches and pears, apricots, plums, those. And then for shade trees, red oaks, bur oak, live oak, Chinese pistache, things like that. Cedar elms, different types of elms, and some maples too. Some of the heat tolerant maples.
Sometimes Jorge tells me some things about trees at his nursery, and I wonder if he's making it up or not. But he had the pistache tree, and he told me that's where pistachios come from. Is that true? Dang
That's
it.
not true. And I straightened him out on that while he came and visited me, and he asked me the same question, and I was like, no, they don't come from these. So I don't know. I don't know if he was just not listening to me.
No, I think it was before his visit up there. Because
Okay.
sometimes when he tells me stuff, I get on my phone and Google. I'm like, no, that's not it, man. That's not it.
I've learned that if you say things confidently, people just believe you.
Dude,
That's
ask my
true.
wife. Ask my
Yeah.
wife. Yep, yep. Very, very much true. Up there in, I guess the person from the coldest area. Like, how cold is it in Nebraska right now?
I don't know how cold it is right now. We're supposed to get down to the 20s tomorrow and Saturday, and expecting about a foot of snow. So it's
Wow.
definitely getting chilly.
Good God, those
Cold coming
Midwest those
around the corner.
Midwest states don't play around, man.
No way.
No, we don't. But I like it. Like you said, you get all 4 seasons. So for me, we hit it really, really hard during the summertime, and then I get about 2 months off. Like I get a break. There's really hardly anything that we can do, so I kind of like it. It's a nice change of pace. The weather gets dark at 5 o'clock, so you can just curl up, do a puzzle, watch a movie, and go to bed by 8. Got to get my 10 hours of beauty sleep in, you know.
Exactly.
Wow.
It makes you appreciate the weather, I think, more. It makes you motivated to get more things done in the spring and in the
Yeah.
summer. I would guess because
Yep.
I was in Alaska when I was in the Air Force. I was in Alaska for 4 years, and the summers were so fun because you were miserable all winter. You know, like it's it's that's crazy though, man.
You do. You appreciate the nice days.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
What
like
about
you guys in Texas. You appreciate the days when it's not 100 degrees out, right?
when,
Absolutely. Those 5 days of the year when it's like 70 degrees are awesome.
Yeah.
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 Oh man. Well, it's so funny when we had that hard freeze with a lot of ice. It wasn't much snow. It was a lot of ice. It was crazy watching people drive that have never driven like in the ice or snow before. It's just like stay home. Don't go anywhere. It's people do not know how to drive in that stuff, and it's crazy. If you don't
I
have any
remember
experience.
we were down in Orlando one time, and it snowed. Like there were snowflakes in the air, but they were just falling. There was no accumulation. Like it hit the ground and it melted, but it was like snowing. And the news alerts was like, please check on your grandparents. Like make sure everyone's still alive, that they haven't like froze to death. And we were like, what in the world? Like this is nothing. It was so funny. It was so funny. But check on your grandparents, everyone.
I guess it's
Everybody's
in Florida.
go ahead. Oh yeah. Oh
Everybody's grandparents are down there.
Yep.
yeah. I remember my grandpa's water line freezed in his attic, and I just the plumbers made so much money after that because every other person I talked to had a water line burst like in their attic or whatever. They just weren't prepared. Have y'all heard of freeze misers before?
No.
Mm-mm.
So my father-in-law told me about these. They're these little screw-on faucet devices. And the way it works is you turn, so if you know there's going to be a freeze, you take it and you put it on the end of your faucet, and it's got this thermal wax that when it gets down to 32 or below, the wax will shrink and allow a small drip of water to come out so that your line won't freeze. And then when it warms back up above 32, the wax expands and won't let the water flow. I've got them. I'm gonna try them out this year. But I thought that was such a cool idea. My father-in-law used them last year, and he said they worked great.
For outdoor faucets?
Yeah,
I may have to look into
I'll send you. I did a video on it last in January, but I'll send you a link. You can get a 2-pack for like $30 on Amazon. It's super cheap, to get them. But that's something I'm going to try to use this year. I was too scared to do it last year, but I'm going to try it this year and see how it goes. What about South Carolina?
Freeze this year.
Oh no, dude! I've got this bad feeling that it's going to be bad this year. I'm already looking at because I'm too cheap.
At least where I am, it's going to be a cold winter that they're alluding to here in Wilmington, North Carolina. But I say cold.
Yeah.
But
are you guys zone 7?
We're zone 8A. But I'm right on the water, and if you're right on the water, it's kind of get that like 8B vibe where it doesn't get as cold as if you're further inland. Like my buddy Anthony, he's the millennial gardener. He's over in further inland, and he gets like a 5-degree difference sometimes on those spikes. But it's all dependent on if that jet stream dips and when that Arctic air comes down. If it doesn't, it stays mild here. But if it dips, that's when we start getting our cold temperatures.
Gotcha.
Noah, are you zone 6 then?
Zone 5B.
Oh, wow.
So pretty close. Yep.
That's
I just learned
Canada.
I know. I just learned what a banana belt was literally yesterday, and I found out that I'm like an hour from Nebraska's banana belt, and I was like, how is this even a thing in Nebraska? Like, we get extreme temperatures pretty much all across the state. Okay.
What is a
what's
banana
belt?
You can't say that and not tell me.
I thought I was, because I learned this in my TikTok live, and everyone else is like, you don't know what a banana belt is. So I was thinking like, oh, I'm just stupid. So I'm glad you guys don't know either. A banana belt, they were talking about, they're in the banana belt of Colorado, and I looked it up, and it is an environment that doesn't get any extreme weather. So like in this case in Colorado, they're on a plateau where they don't get any of the extreme like colds, and they don't get extremely hot. So it's like a more moderate climate of a state.
I'm writing that down. I'm gonna Google that.
Do they actually grow bananas, or I don't know?
No, yeah, that was the thing. I was like, oh, can you grow bananas there? No. I don't know why it's called banana belt, but that's what it is.
That's what it is.
All right.
Okay.
I'm definitely not in the banana belt of Texas. That's for sure.
I bet Google it. I bet Texas has a banana belt.
It's not where I am. We have all the extremes.
I am in the banana belt. They die back and they come back every year, usually twice as many. Like you can't kill bananas if they're in the ground, man. I had mine
like a literal banana belt.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Houston is like a microclimate. It's kind of weird the way it works. I had bananas in containers and they died back and came back strong. I had one banana, it died back, and I got 4 bananas that came back out. It was crazy. But my wife has recently made me get rid of them because she hates the tree. She hates the way they look.
That's sad.
That's a
My wife
bummer.
wants me to grow as many banana plants as possible.
Well, I've got a very small backyard, and bananas take up a little. The roots were going through the bottom of the pot and going into the ground. So I'd probably start seeing suckers come up from the other side, and then I'd never get rid of them. I don't think people realize in my backyard is like less than like a 32nd of an acre. Like
That's pretty
it's very small, and so I got to be very efficient and conscious of like what I use because I got to fit like 50 fig trees back there. You know, like I gotta have them. Uh, I've noticed that figs have gotten pretty common this year. Phil sells them online. Have y'all been selling quite a few figs up there, Michael? Um,
They're borderline cold hardy here, so we sell some, but most years they die back to the root here.
yeah, which is fine because it seems like they come back stronger right after they die back. Like I had
Yeah.
a bunch die. Yeah, even the hardy Chicago might even be okay in Nebraska. It might come back every year.
I think if you were going to go with one, definitely any of those Mount Etna varieties like Hardy Chicago, because it's kind of like a banana. Like you get their root systems established, and then they can just bounce back every year, especially if they're like if they have a short time to ripen fig, even like a Ronde Bordeaux. But I have some trees out here I've cut back to the ground because of the ambrosia beetle, but they're established enough that I'll get 8 feet of growth. So,
and you will get good fruit production too.
it gets delayed if I cut it back, but I live in a climate that's warm enough that I can kind of milk that where I'm getting figs now. But there are other varieties that if you do cut back to the ground, they are quite precocious.
Yes.
Yeah, most of the varieties that I have, they came back and got bigger than they were last year, and they seem like they produced probably more fall fruit. But I am watering like pretty often. A lot of people, I tell people that figs are drought tolerant, but they'll produce way more figs if you water them like a couple times a week rather than especially during the drought and stuff. And yeah, so I can't. I love them. I love figs. I'm a fig guy.
And like not a lot of people know that there are certain varieties of figs that will ripen in July, especially if they have Brava crops. But then if you have all the main crop figs, I have ones that will ripen end of September, October. So I try to like span everything out, kind of like apples or other fruits. And you can have figs for 5 months. So right now I'm getting all my col de dames, which are my favorite by far, but I have to wait until October to get them. But and it's still warm enough here. That's the only thing with figs is they do need that Mediterranean climate or that subtropical climate. But I'm definitely still getting figs right now, which is nice.
So we can't grow figs. We can't grow figs at all in Nebraska. So I'm curious about figs. Are you able to? The only thing I know about them is like fig jams and jellies. Is that the only way to preserve them, or what do you do with them?
I honestly,
this is the guy right here. This is the guy.
Like I eat them fresh, and if I have varieties that it tastes like jam anyway, so just go out there with coffee and toast, and you could just wipe it on the toast and eat it, and you're like, oh, fig jam, right?
That's cool.
Yeah, if they're super ripe, they're already like jelly. I mean, it's basically already like that. But I mean, I've done dehydrated figs. They turn out really well. I'm planning on making some fig mead this year to use them in some like wine. And there's a bunch of different ways, but drying them is probably, besides jellies and stuff, is probably the most popular way. That's why a lot of the Turkish figs are dehydrated.
And like my parents live in Pennsylvania, and they just keep them in pots. Pot culture is really popular, especially in the Northeast, with a lot of the Italians and Greeks and Portuguese that live up there who bring their fig trees over. And she just throws them in the
figs.
Yeah, ecco. But they bring it, or they have like dedicated like wrapping techniques they do to try to take care of them. But keeping them in pots is really easy. They have pretty shallow root systems. But
oh yeah. What kind of fruit trees do you have? Mostly like apples and stone fruit and stuff like that up there at your house, Noah?
Yeah, apples and peaches and pears are kind of the biggest ones in our neck of the woods. But even here, like our spring climate's so weird where we'll get a warm week and they'll start to bloom, and then we'll get a frost like in May or sometimes early June. And so it's just not consistent because those blooms freeze off quite often. So apples is the hardiest
Yeah.
that we can grow. That's about it.
What about cherries? Cherries will probably do okay, huh?
Cherries do okay. They don't grow
Depends on the
super well
variety.
around here. I don't know if it's. I'm not a fruit tree expert. I don't. Yeah, I don't know if it's the again just the climate or what, but they don't produce a lot of fruit. You can grow the tree, but as far as like what you're going to get from a yield standpoint, you're not going to get much.
Yeah. I've been recommending pomegranates to everybody. Pomegranates usually handle the cold really well. Um, they're mostly from like Russia and China where they have colder climates. And I've got two right now. I'm probably going to double that. I've been propagating them. Like they're very easy to propagate. I come to find out. So I'm going to have probably a lot more of those coming up this year.
You'll have to send
BMOs,
those to me. That's
yeah,
like
no,
my dream. I want to raise pomegranates in Nebraska. I would love to do that.
I bet they would do well. I bet they would do really well. I mean, it's worth a try, right?
Yeah, I'll be your experimental ground.
There you go. We can experiment.
Yeah.
We lost some pomegranates during the Arctic blast of 21 here in zone 7, but I don't know exactly. I'm sure there are more cold tolerant varieties out there than what we had.
Yeah, I've got the Parfianca and the Texas Pink. I'm willing to bet the Parfianca, and then my dad's got a couple other varieties. When I've got all my trees and pots for the most part, and whenever they get too big, they retire to my dad's 100 acres, and then we put them in the ground, and then I get the honor of going to prune them every year, which is awesome for me because it's free propagation material. So all my figs go out there, my pomegranates will go out there. My dad's got about 10 different varieties of pomegranates that we'll
Hmm.
be propagating. So I'll send you a variety and we'll do like a little experiment, see what works
Yeah.
for sure. Well, we got BMO in the chat finally. Can you hear me,
Yeah, man, I'm
BMO?
back. Yeah, can you hear me good?
Yes, sir. This
Okay.
is
Yeah, man, I finally got this thing working.
got your Cobra Commander shirt on.
Yeah, man. Hell Kroger.
Dude, uh, Demo is already ready for the winter. So it's weird, like here in the Houston area, the stuff that most people grow in the spring is like our overwinter crops, like kale, broccoli, even like collards and cauliflower, stuff like pretty much all the brassicas and everything. Uh, I have never had any success growing cabbage or those little tiny seeds. I've never had any luck with little tiny seeds getting them started. But my buddy Bimo actually has done pretty good this year. I was surprised. I was like, dang, it's nice.
Yeah,
It's
man. What actually I think what helped me was the that drought we had. Um, I think the root system in a lot of my seed starts were able to establish because of the heat. I kept them under a tree a lot of the times. Kept them watered. I picked it up from Jorge. I watered twice a day. So while they were saturated and was able to grow, and also I got a couple of those seed starting traits from you. They had the humidity there, so it was that root system was actually good to. I mean, was set in really good. So I think that's the only reason it got they're growing the way they are now. So I'm happy about it.
Yeah, mine typically start getting that green sheen all over the top before they start when it comes to cauliflower and stuff. And it's usually easier for me just to get like starts from someone like you or someone else that I know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, I appreciate you hopping in. I don't know where Jorge's at. Uh, ha-
Knowing Jorge, he's probably looking at the computer trying to see how to turn it on. Gabby's not there to help him. He won't get it going.
he cracks me up, man. He cracks me up. Yeah, he told me how much water he uses at the nursery. How often do y'all water? Like y'all have your zones and I've never been up to y'all's place. I want to come up that way. I was actually mad that he didn't tell me he was going because I would have taken off work to go up there.
We did a road trip. Yep.
Yeah,
We
but he
came
was
up there.
he was on a family vacation. That's why. But
Yes.
but I would have definitely because I want to meet Felicia too. I've never met Felicia.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
she's the real superstar that keeps everything rolling on our social media. So
yeah,
I'm just the one that stands in front of the camera. She does all the work. So
well, during the drought, how often were y'all watering? Like twice a day, more than that?
Every day, some things twice a day. So
Mhm.
it was just so brutally hot. And our nursery, we don't set up automatic watering on a lot of stuff. We hand water most everything just because we're on municipal water. And
Mm.
so it's expensive. And so setting up sprinklers that just spray everywhere is really inefficient. And
Mm.
so we actually, we in our production side of things, we have a lot of things on drip system, but out in the retail side, it's all hand watered. So yeah, every day, some things twice a day, and we still lost quite a bit of material this summer because it was just so hot for so long.
Wow.
I think we had like 80 days over 100 degrees or something like that, and maybe 12 or 15 days where it was 110 plus up here. So it was just brutal.
Well, and y'all have that wind too. It's just like hitting everything with that. It's like someone turned the heater on. You know, there's nothing
Hmm.
stopping it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
we've got several workers that are from Central and South America, close to the equator, and it's really hot there. But they come up here and they're like, "We've never experienced heat like this ever." That hot wind is just it's really wild when you walk outside and it's so windy, but the wind just feels like it's cooking you. It's weird.
yeah. There's no humidity. There's like hardly any humidity.
Yeah.
It's wild. Um,
Must suck the moisture right out of you.
Hmm.
yeah. I can't imagine. It was pretty rough. With I've got most of my stuff on an it's on a timer. I usually go out there and push the button to make it a sprinkler. Like it's a micro sprinkler system. Uh, but I always find that it's if you just rely on that and don't do any hand watering, you're gonna miss something. If I go like a week or two where I don't go around and check all my sprinklers, I always find like one sprinkler that was like clogged up or something, and then I got a dead tree, and it always sucks. So like, hand watering is almost better because you can actually pay better attention to what's going on.
Yeah, and in our nursery, especially in the retail area, kids will walk through and pull those leads out, or when we're moving things around, we'll forget to put something back in there, and then before you know it, you got a dead tree. And when we're talking about trees that retail for sometimes 600, $1,000, you lose a few of those, and you're losing a lot of money. So.
Oh yeah, no, I can't imagine, man. I can't imagine. Um, what are I was gonna ask, what are y'all growing right now? Are y'all just up there in Nebraska, Noah? Or are y'all just done for the year, like when it comes to gardening, or do y'all? Oh, you have a greenhouse now. I forgot. You built a nice greenhouse.
Yeah, I do have a greenhouse, but I don't want to pay to heat it through right now. So I brought all my plants inside. And so, like, we planted our garlic, we planted some onions, we planted some carrots, things that'll overwinter. Planted those, put some straw on top of them, and yeah, we're pretty much done at this point. It's a matter of getting everything cleaned up and then ordering seeds. Like you said, the planning part, you don't really take a break necessarily. It's more like now we're planning and I'm trying to get everything ordered for. We'll probably start everything like in January is when I'll turn the greenhouse on, but we'll have about 2 months of pretty much nothing.
Do y'all have a heater out there already?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Someone was asking me because I've been now. I know it's getting cold next week, so I got to get some videos out. We're all content creators. Like whenever there's something topical happening, and you got something in the back catalog, like, oh, it's getting cold. Got to get the get cold preparedness videos popped up. And so I put my greenhouse video up and had questions about other passive ways of heating your greenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And one way I have seen was putting black barrels in your greenhouse, filling them with water, and then throughout the day, the sun will warm up the water, and then throughout the evenings, the water will slowly release some of the heat out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way. Y'all have any other ideas? I've also heard like this, like putting like a composter in there, so that the decomposition will actually produce heat as well. Um, y'all have any like how do y'all heat y'all's greenhouses, Michael?
Yeah,
Heaters?
we've got about 4 acres of greenhouses that we heat, and we use natural gas. It's just the passive ways, especially things that rely on solar, such as the barrels. don't work when it's cloudy. So, a lot of times in the wintertime, we'll have these stretches of a week or 2 weeks where it's cloudy. And so, unless you have that, other source of heat, which natural gas is the cheapest way that we've found to heat. Up north, those guys are real specialists. They're doing boilers and they're doing, underfloor heating and things like that. But we just use natural gas, forced air heat in ours. And there is some good stuff that you can do as a home gardener with the barrels. I've seen some people using even keeping bunnies in the greenhouse because bunnies generate a lot of heat. Uh, the composting thing is interesting. I think so. Composting in itself doesn't necessarily produce heat, but there are specific bacteria that do produce that heat. And so there's one group out there that has isolated that bacteria that is the one that produces heat, and they've actually figured out how to make these engines essentially that kind of churn a compost pile and keep those. They kind of culture those specific heat producing bacteria, and so I can't remember the name of that group that's doing that, but it's not exactly composting. They're more culturing that bacteria that produces the heat, and that was something that I found pretty fascinating. So there could be potentially something there for the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. The barrels would definitely work in like they would only work in a small area, and like you said, it definitely depends on if it's overcast or not. I always fill my greenhouse all the way up. Like I found like open space allows for like more cool air to get in, and so I find if I fill it up all the way and get everything close, I fill it up all the way because I don't have an option. I've got that many plants in my backyard, but it kind of helps out a little bit too.
Well,
Um,
and to Michael's point, like even if you have a small greenhouse, electricity is fairly cheap. Natural gas is fairly cheap. When you look at like it's fine if you want to have those passive options, but imagine what would happen if you are gone for a day and it's cloudy and that barrel, or I've seen guys that'll do even just like gallon buckets or something, like your compost isn't working
right.
and you lose all those plants. Is it really worth the couple dollars that you're spending a day on the electrical, especially for a smaller greenhouse? Like it makes it's so much more peace of mind just having consistency.
Yeah.
And so those things can be good if you want to supplement, but I would never rely on that
Depend
as your
on.
source of heat.
Oh yeah. No,
Right.
the only foolproof is to get like a heater of some sort. I use heat lamps in my greenhouse just because I don't have a way to get a heater out there and it stays so humid. I haven't invested in a big like actual heater yet, and it would just be run on electricity. But what I'm gonna do is because I live in a subdivision in like a tiny neighborhood, and everything in my garage and outside my house is on the same circuit. And so what I've actually got to do is add another circuit breaker for just my greenhouse, and I'm actually going to put a photo cell on it to where the lights will kick on when the sun goes down.
Nice.
Um, and I've been using the heat lamps for about 3 years now, and it's been really well. People worry about them, knocking over, and I haven't had any issues with that. And I also use like the weatherproof surge protectors, everything like that. And the breaker will be a GFCI as well.
So
It's
you
just
just have like a bunch of like chicken heat lamps,
yeah,
like the same
breeders.
thing?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually use the red ones because it lights up my whole backyard. And if I had the white ones, it would look very. I'm not supposed to have a greenhouse in my backyard. So if I had
Let me
white
ask about
ones,
the HOA rules.
oh man. Well,
Yeah, we
with
we
my
saw a
H,
ton
go
of
ahead.
So
we
many
saw a
rules.
ton of home greenhouses fail back in February of 21 because the power grid here in Texas went so bad, and a lot of people were relying on electrical heat, didn't have backup generators, and so we heard a lot of sad stories, and myself included. We were fine at our garden center. We've got a lot of redundancy there, but my greenhouse at my house failed, and so I ended up losing some really old plants that were my grandfather's and things like that. And I heard a lot of similar stories from home greenhouses because it got so cold for so long that the normal methods that they used to heat just didn't keep up, and or if they lost power. So it's good to have, generators and redundancy and backup plans in case we get
Absolutely.
something like that happens again.
And you had the roof blow off your greenhouse, didn't you?
Yes, that was actually last year. We had a really bad cold spell, and one of our ranges, it was during one of those just brutally cold days where it was, I don't know, 10 degrees or something, and with a 40-mile-an-hour wind, and it was icy, and lost the roof of a greenhouse. And so we spent that whole day just moving plants and trying to rig up a temporary wall. It was a miserable day.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Oh my
It was a
God.
nightmare. Luckily, it was our trees and not like it was our range of greenhouses where our trees and shrubs are. If it had been something like where we keep our spring annuals or our poinsettias or something like that, that would have cost us tens of thousands of dollars easily. And that's
Do you guys
happened
have
before.
insurance for that type of thing? Like, is there insurance on your? Because I'm putting up a hoop house this year, and I've been looking at that. Like, is there a way to insure those?
There is, yeah. We pay a lot of money for insurance. I think we pay
Is it for
like
the structure or the plants that are inside, or both?
it's both. It's both. Yeah. If we end up having a big loss, but we also have a really high deductible, so we would, in order to tap that. Yeah, I don't remember what our deductible is, but it's like over $10,000 just for the deductible. So we have to have a pretty severe loss for us to want to tap into that insurance.
Yeah.
Well,
Plus, you're out of any product for months and months.
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it was the plastic sheeting, like the tarp, right? That came off the top, or was it it's soft, right? It just flew off, and
Yeah. It was
okay.
it was just that plastic sheet that came off. So the structure itself was fine. It's just metal hoops. But yeah, we change a lot of roofs. This year we're due to change like something like 30 or 40 roofs. It's going to be stupid. We're already starting on it. So
How many greenhouses do y'all have?
it's 4 acres of greenhouse, but I think I would have to count, but it's probably like 50 or 60 different greenhouse structures that are all kind of connected.
That's crazy.
That's
That
nuts.
is nuts. I'm just trying to manage one.
Same.
Right.
I swear every winter when it's cold, if there's a strong breeze, I'm not worried about precipitation. I'm not worried about the ice or whatever. I'm worried about the wind. You
Yep.
know,
Mhm.
that cheap Amazon, that first greenhouse I had was a cheap like $200 greenhouse. And I did everything to like redneck renovate that thing. I put T-posts in the corners. I
Mhm.
put cattle panels on the back and on the sides. I even bought like these they're made for trampolines. They're these anchors, these big U-shaped pieces of rebar, and you hammer in the ground. But I was always so worried. I was like, it's just gonna blow over. It's just gonna run off. I'm gonna go out there one day and it's gonna be in Scott's yard next door. I was like, it's
I was right there with you. I think that's like inspiration for any gardener because it's like I had my little $80 thing and I had like an indoor humidifier to get the humidity right. I had like the space heater that should not have been out there, like just waiting for a fire to start, trying to make it work. And when if you could figure those things out, it's like you level up after that, and then you're like, okay, I've figured out the nuances and idiosyncrasies. Let's hedge myself.
See, we have wind. Like, wind is something we have to worry about, but we also have to worry about snow load. So when I got mine, which I got mine through the equip program, and they would only allow in our state us to get the Gothic style because of the snow load, and they also said that helps really well with your wind. So if there's anybody that's listening that's getting snow, like, that is something to think about as well, is how that snow is going to come off.
yeah. I've got my Shelter Logic one now. It came as a kit. And it's really cool. And they make the traditional and they make the more Gothic one for a snow load to drop all the snow and stuff out.
Yep.
Phil, is yours all metal framed? Is it the plastic or is it the
Yeah,
glass?
it's the kit that I originally. It's no, it's panel. It's the what is
The
that?
acrylic.
Yeah, it's like the like
Is it polycarbonate?
Yeah,
polycarbonate
that's what it
panel.
is.
and it's a little drafty, but it's a kit. But I kind of like reinforced the kit, if you will. Like I countersunk the base, and I put gravel in on top, and then I tried to find like after I set it all, it has a bunch of screws, right? So as it feathers and kind of settles itself, then you go back and you tighten it all again. And I just kind of try to maintain, like you feel the corners for the drafts. And I use like a collection of those heating options, right? Like I have the greenhouse specific heater, and then I have heat mats because I want the roots to be warm enough if I am propagating. And then I also have like you can use the rain barrels just to maintain that heat as I have it in like a southern space of my property. So
It
you
can't
try to keep
hurt, you know.
everything that can work and then you feather it because you're right. There's no, at the end of the day, if it's going to be 20 degrees, I'm going to flip that heater on because it's not worth losing 80 cutting to 100 cuttings.
I've even thought about getting one of those black stock tanks, filling it with
Mhm.
water, and then putting some goldfish in it, and then using that water with the goldfish poop in it to water my plants inside. So I don't have to run the hose inside. I'll just fill up the stock tank like once a week and just kind of hand. I was like, that might be a win-win little situation.
We're gonna try that this winter. That's one of the goals that we had because we used goldfish in our stock tanks to eat the algae, and somebody was like, "Why don't you water your plants with that?" And I was like, "That would
Yeah.
make sense." So we're gonna try the same thing and just put them underneath.
Yeah.
That's
I'm definitely.
my home greenhouse has that set up.
Oh, does it
How,
really?
what does it look like? Like, explain how I should set that up.
It's a black stock tank. It's like a 200-gallon stock tank, which when you're watering a bunch of plants, you go through that water pretty quickly. So I actually don't use it all that often, but I have because whenever you refill with your city water, you have to dechlorinate it. But what I do is I have a collection area for rainwater, so I backfill my goldfish pond with rainwater whenever I have it available. So that way I'm not having to dechlorinate it or anything like that.
That's smart.
Mhm.
That's a good idea.
I wish it wasn't illegal in Nebraska.
What?
I don't live in a communist state.
It is
Sorry.
illegal to harvest rainwater in Nebraska. It's stupid.
What?
Yeah.
Because you're,
Same,
it's 'cause
same in Colorado.
you're taking
I
water away from all that corn, baby.
I guess I was gonna do a whole thing about it, and someone was like, "You might want to take that down because like that's illegal." And I was like, "What? No, it's not." And
What?
sure enough,
Shut
it is.
up.
Just don't tell
So
them.
do you have a?
about it.
That's crazy.
Did you put a pump then in your tank? Like, how are you watering it without sucking up fish?
Yeah, just a sump pump.
Okay.
Hey, Jen.
The sump pump just sits on the bottom so the fish don't get sucked into it. It's got a little filter.
Wife. Wife said hello, guys.
What up?
No, I really like that idea. You need to definitely do a video on that, Michael, to show off.
Cool.
And that way you'll have dibs on it. So whenever me and Noah do our videos, it'll be like we're copying you.
We'll be copying.
Yeah.
You gotta be
All right.
first, man. Hashtag first.
It'd be like a garden party homework. We'll go back and we'll all get our fish tanks, and then we'll like get set up. It'd be sick.
Yeah.
I love fish. I was a fish
Yeah.
biologist before I was a plant person. So I've got like koi ponds at my house, at work. I'm big into fish and fish biology and fishing, anything related to fish. I'm all about it.
Oh,
Is koi the fish that you used?
Yeah.
In my big pond, I have koi, but koi gets so big that goldfish are a way better option for a stock tank.
Okay.
And
about
koi have a
plecos?
tendency to jump out. Plecos are good if you can keep the water above like 50 degrees. So,
Oh man. So hey, this is funny. I took my dog on a walk during that freeze that we had, the big ice storm here in Texas. And plecos are crazy invasive here in the Gulf Coast area. So we have a giant lake in our subdivision. Well, I took him walking around, and then the wind was blowing all the water towards one side of the lake. And we walked around that corner, and all it was tilapia and plecos all floating to the
Yeah.
top. There was like, dude, it was like thousands of them.
What?
Thousands of them. Yes.
dude,
It was-
my wife would have been out there with a net and just scooping them babies up. She loves tilapia and plecos. Did you know that you can eat plecos? They're
I
like
did not.
they're like a delicacy. My wife's from Peru, so they eat them in Peru all the time, and I've had them. They're pretty good. So my
Did
wife
you
would
see
have
the
got nuts
video
if
of
she still.
the guy that was bow fishing and he was bow fishing this goldfish that was like this big? It wasn't a koi, it was like a goldfish. It was
Oh yeah,
huge, and then they
Yeah.
filleted it out and they were eating it. I was like, what?
I've
What?
never tried goldfish, but it's good to have pets that you
It's
could potentially eat if things went south. You know.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just carp. I mean I think originally goldfish, not koi, were raised for like eating, like they have a little spot to collect food from. I think that's what originally goldfish were for before they started selectively breeding them for the color and stuff. Could be
Wow.
wrong about that,
Look
but
at
I
us, the
actually,
garden party. We're just talking about fish.
oh well,
Sorry,
it's so
I think I
funny.
derailed us.
It's
No,
it's
I
so
like
fun.
it.
No, it's okay. You should watch the Grow Bros podcast. We don't
That's,
only talk about we don't only talk about gardening. Uh,
no, yeah,
uh,
that's a normal conversation for us.
yeah, I literally just watched a video today. I don't know if y'all know who Forrest Galante is. You probably do, but he goes and hunts down like animals that are supposed to be extinct. But he did a YouTube video today. He was down in Florida, and they were bow fishing plecostomus and tilapia, and then like the walking catfish. And they did like
Mm.
a taste test, and he said the pleco is like a dark meat. It's kind of like a
Mhm.
dark meat, but he said it didn't taste as bad as it smelled.
That's good.
It's so bad.
That
They
makes me
they
want to
eat
eat
them
it.
in a they eat them in a soup. And what's
That's
interesting
pretty good.
about them is because they're armored on the outside, but inside they have very few bones in the meat. The meat is real. It's dark, but it's real clean and boneless. So you pull them out of the soup and you just scrape the scales off, which are hard like armor, and then underneath it is just like really good boneless meat. So I think it's pretty good.
Huh.
It looked
And I didn't
it
really
looked
get a
like a,
bad smell from them.
yeah, they were cleaning them and they said, God, it stunk. I don't know. I had a big one growing up. The only way I got a fish tank growing up is I found a 50-gallon fish tank sitting in someone's trash that was going. I used to go dumpster diving when I was a kid. It was trash day. I'd ride my bike up and down the street, and I found like a go kart one time. All I needed was a spark plug, and my grandpa got it running for me. That was all. I was like 14. I was way too old for a golf cart or a go kart. But I found like a 50-gallon container or an aquarium, and I would used to just go netting in the ditch. And so my fish tank would just have like largemouth bass, ghost shrimp, little baby catfish, and like little perch and everything. I love that. It's like a native tank. Like I love that
Yeah,
idea. It's like a little like a mini Bass Pro, mini Bass
yeah.
Pro Shop. No, it was fun.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I gotta head out. It was a pleasure
Yeah,
to hang out with you guys this evening. Y'all take
I
care. Nice
appreciate
to
you.
meet
Know,
y'all. Yeah,
thanks, buddy.
will do.
Gotta
Take
head
care,
out
y'all.
too, guys. I see y'all.
You gotta head out.
Yep.
All right, go ahead,
All right,
BMO.
brother. I see you, brother.
Well, we'll go ahead and end it here. I appreciate y'all coming on for the first garden party. I'll kind of keep it short and sweet. Um, but I'm going to keep doing these, especially with the weather changing, going into spring. I saw a video today and it kind of inspired me. I think I'm going to try to start growing it seems like when I start growing pepper plants, the hotter the pepper, the longer it takes to like germinate and actually produce peppers. And
Yes.
I thought about starting my pepper plants like this weekend inside my
Yeah, you
garage
should.
under grow lights.
Yeah.
I was like, I started some ghost peppers because it seems like when you buy them from starts, even like in the early spring, it takes forever to get a pepper off those things.
Yeah, we
You
start our super hots that we grow. We start them in the fall to be ready for spring sales because the hotter they are. You're right. The hotter they are, the slower they grow.
I don't know what makes it that way. I don't understand. I don't know what does that, but it seems like this like the little chili pekins. Like they're not super hot, but like they take forever.
Hmm.
But like especially like the ghost peppers and even like the Mad Hatters aren't too bad. I don't really eat anything spicy. It'll just ruin my day. But my wife makes a bunch of pepper jelly, and we also dehydrate our peppers and then turn it to like a pepper powder. And then like my dad like puts it on his popcorn. I add it to chili, and like
Mm.
it's really good. One thing I have found is don't dehydrate them in the house. I learned that the
Oh,
hard way.
did you shed tears?
Michael, you're gonna learn real quick that I'm an idiot. Okay, I'm not as smart as I look on. I'm not as smart as I look on social media. So I, I was doing something with my buddy Farmer Froberg that day, and I was sitting on the couch. I had the peppers going in the kitchen, and then he knocked on the door, and I said, "Hey, come in." And he took 2 steps inside my house, and goes, "What did you do?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Dude, it feels like I've been maced walking into your house." And I get up and I go look in the mirror because I wear contacts sometimes, and my eyes were just bloodshot, and I didn't even realize it. And like I was like, and I it was just nuts, and I didn't even realize it. It was a slow burn for me, but like it took days to get that out of my house. Like it
Oh
was,
my
I
gosh.
it's so well. I had some hot peppers going with this.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was real
Yeah.
bad. Uh, I was laughing because when you said you had a greenhouse at the house, Michael, um, I found that some gardeners, some people in certain professions, don't bring their work home with them. I always thought like greenhouse guys and landscapers. Someone told me like landscapers have like the worst landscaping, or like nursery people
Yeah.
have the worst, But you actually grow stuff at home too.
I do, but I'm certainly have those tendencies. Like if my wife wasn't helping water them and care for them, I probably wouldn't do it, because I, I I just deal with it all day, every day at work. And so sometimes I want to come home and I just don't want to mess with plants. But lucky for me, my wife and kids will get out there and do like the watering. And then I've got a lot of stuff set up on automatic drip um, through my sprinkler system. So I enjoy having a nice backyard, but I'm trying to do it with the least amount of effort possible. I just don't spend like tons and tons of time out there because I'm just in such a busy stage of life. But
Yeah,
yeah, in the past, I have not had nice landscaping, but now I keep up with it a little bit more. Like I said, we've got our really cool koi pond, and the kids like it a lot. My kids are wanting to get back into veggie gardening, so I'm going to be figuring out where to put that. We used to do it at my old house a lot, but since we moved to the house that we're in now, we haven't gotten back into vegetable gardening except for just some containers on the deck. So I'm figuring out where I'm going to put a bigger garden, but we have a ton of shade at our house. We have like these huge pecan trees everywhere, and and then because of that, we have like a bazillion squirrels, and so I have to like build something to keep the squirrels out of my garden if
yeah,
we do a vegetable garden.
yeah. That's like one of my number one questions about like figs, especially. Like I have problems with birds. Birds and possums love my figs. But Phil, you have squirrels at
I
your place, huh?
I don't want to say I hate squirrels, but like
You can say it. This is
they're
a safe
one
place.
of them
They're
freaking
just
they're
rats with bushy
ready
tails.
to
That's it.
start making squirrel stew at this point. But
I have heard this squirrel tastes really good.
I
I've
heard that
heard this.
too. Like here in North Carolina, like people claim that it's pretty nice. It's nice and gamey. Throw some back fat in the stew and call it good. But like I've gone
Especially if
some.
they've been eating figs, like they're gonna taste even
Oh
better.
my gosh,
Oh
and they're
yeah.
bougie ones. They
I
wait till
taste
they're wet.
sweet.
And we have like one possum that doesn't bother us. He's like the neighborhood possum that hangs out and eats the ticks, I guess.
Okay.
And then but the the squirrels have become such I have like this whole like master plan of like noise emitters and bird netting that's wrapped underneath, and then I have like organza bags, so if the squirrel earns it he can have it, but he's got to go through some hoops to get there, and there's maybe one
Mm-hmm.
at this point that's given up. But yeah, I don't know, man. I've definitely brought the squirrels to me. I can't say like, oh, I have a fig nursery in my backyard. Like, of course squirrels and other wildlife are going to come, but I didn't know they were going to come that intensively.
Those organza bags will definitely, they're more of a deterrent than
Yes.
anything. Usually, like if a bird's got to like touch something, like the nets kind of help, but if they can get under it, they don't care. But
Right.
like the birds can peck through those bags. The possums, it looks like they just mash them. They go in there and they mash the fig inside the bag and then eat. That's what it was. That's what mine was doing.
A lot of
Um,
times I say like to people is like they're not going to stop 100%. They're going to mess with them a little bit and then they'll give up because it's not worth their energy, and that's why the
yeah,
organza bags are there. But you also like it's a numbers game. Some of my fig trees, like I have the one that's going to give me 10,000 figs, it's 15 feet tall off to the side. I don't worry about that. It feeds the whole ecosystem and I get plenty. But it's more of the particular varieties that are slower growers, that aren't quite as robust as fruiters. That's when I start taking care of them.
My enemy is the mockingbird. The mockingbird likes to help. Dude, if they made it legal for 1 day a year to make like a 1 day hunting season on mockingbirds, I don't know why they're protected. There's so many of them. They shouldn't be protected. I hate them. I would take care of like 20% of them. Yeah, man. I will go.
This is a
full
state
on
bird of Texas, by the way.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. It is.
It is, but they're ferocious when it comes to eating tomatoes, especially. They will get after them. So to your point, the only thing that I found that works are physical barriers that are solid physical barriers. All of the repellents and wives' tales and tricks that you read online, none of it is as foolproof as just physically keeping them away by fencing and netting and things like that. So
my best method I always tell people is that, you have one tomato plant and the mockingbird is 200 tomatoes, plant more tomato plants. Those birds and the possums are like the IRS. They're going to get their cut no matter what. So just plant more. Just plant more. So yeah, but I'm not a fan of the mockingbird because he doesn't eat the whole thing. He pecks one hole and then goes to the next one. And somebody was telling me that mockingbirds are mostly like insect eaters, and that they're actually looking for they see like a worm or something inside the fruit. But I've also heard if it's super dry, they're just looking for something with liquid in it to drink.
Yeah, the moisture.
I've heard actually. That's interesting.
I think they're mostly just mocking you.
Yeah, they're not a fan. Well, they see me out there. Like, I can only imagine what my neighbors think. Like, with me out there shooting videos, I've got 2 neighbors that are pretty close. They have 2-story houses, so I can only imagine what they're thinking of me when I'm outside shooting videos for like an hour every evening. So the mockingbirds are probably like, "What is he doing too? Why is he out here in the garden?" So it's one way to mess with me. But a dog, having a dog in the garden definitely helps with squirrels. If you have a full-time outside dog, that'll definitely help with squirrels and birds as well. Because if I'm out there, no bird is messing around. Like, especially my German Shepherd, like nobody's messing with it. Nobody at all. Oh man. Well, I appreciate y'all hopping on, man. My buddy Seed Farm Table was like, "Hey, are y'all still on?" I'm like, "Oh, we're about to end." So, but I appreciate y'all coming on, guys. Like I said, this is my first inaugural episode of this. I want to keep it going, so hope I can get y'all back on at some point. I'm gonna mix it up and have different people on every time, but I can do up to 7 guests, and so I invited 7 people this time, and we'll see how it goes. So, appreciate y'all for coming on. Make sure to follow Smith's Garden Town, Phil's Figs. If y'all are still listening, I don't know who's still listening. Then